Okay, so let's move on now and close our show with a couple of items here. Let's go to our next patriotism in the Bible segment. And once again, the Bible's religious parables and the historical stories in the Bible, meant obviously for Christians and Jews, the Jews in the Old Testament, of course, point the way, I believe, how we as American, it shows us the path as how we as a good American patriots, what we can do, what path we can follow, what messages the Bible gives to us as Americans. And this next Bible reading from Matthew, this message is very short, it's very powerful, it's straightforward, but it's very simple. So let's go to Matthew 22. Excuse me, the greatest commandment. Now, what I do here, again, my theory here is if you substitute America and American principles for some of the things, for words like God and other phrases in the Bible, it's almost the same message. So, and I put those those secular, if you would, analogies in red. So in Matthew 22, the Sadducees tried to and the Pharisees got together, they tried to trick Jesus, right? They wanted to test him, which is the greatest commandment in the law. And I would say, what is the most important thing to believe about America or our Constitution? And Jesus replied, love the Lord your God. And I say love America. So if you take a secular view, love America with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. Despite its many shortcomings, despite the shortcomings of its founding principles, I don't believe there's shortcomings there, despite the principle of its founding fathers, I believe American principles deserve the search for freedom, for equality under the law, for liberty, so that it leads to personal prosperity. Those are the principles that cannot be assailed. And every American should love them with all your heart and with all your soul, with all your mind, even if weak people, even if corrupt people, even if evil people have been put in charge or elected to be in charge in administering that Constitution and administering our government. The founding principles of this country deserve to be loved with all your heart, soul, and mind. The first and the greatest commandment is love the Lord your God. As an American, it should be love your country. The second commandment in the Bible says love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on to these two commandments. In my view, love your neighbors by ensuring them the freedom, ensuring they receive or that you do not infringe upon their God-given rights, their constitutionally granted rights. Make sure that in living your life and being a public official and being an executive or being a manager or just being a neighbor, you do not infringe and you respect everybody's God-given and constitutional rights. Because that is what is going to lead to the greatest justice and the greatest prosperity. Even though we've done it poorly in this country at times, even though we have not always, our executives in companies, our elected officials have not lived up to the ideals of this nation when executing the Constitution. You as neighbors can you as citizens can treat your neighbors that same way. So when you see school committee members infringing on the rights of parents, or you see any elected official, raiding your wallet and infringing on your property, or taking or limiting your property rights, or limiting your ability to worship, like we saw during the pandemic when going to church was shut down while other things were kept open. Do not infringe on the God-given and constitutional rights of any of your fellow citizens or neighbors, as the Bible said. This is kind of the same thing I've been saying for years. I've said it publicly in events I've been to, at the Providence Journal symposium they have, and I've said it on this show many times. We can only heal as a nation. We're only going to heal as a people if most of us universally return to the practice of loving our country, as we mentioned in this reading from Matthew, and if we trust in God. Love of country, trust in God. There's a saying that what comes first, God, country, family. that I would certainly sacrifice. Some people believe I would sacrifice myself or my family rather than betray or commit treason to my country. And some people even say I would even put God above all that. Do not ask me to disown my God. Nothing more important. I'm not comfortable putting them in a hierarchy, but God, country, and family clearly are the top three things we should be concerned about. Keeping to the religious tenets of Jesus Christ, keeping to the founding tenets of America and our Constitution and of our founding principles, and treating our neighbors and treating our fellow citizens as we would want to be treated ourselves, or as the Constitution, as those American principles dictate we be treated. That is how not only you can be a good Jewish or Christian disciple, but you can be a good American patriot. Love of country, trust in God. We must, as a society, return to that.